Okay, so you are here to learn about Beyond the Net, which is a program of the Internet Society. It's the continuation of a program that we started back in 2005 that used to be called Community Grants. Beyond the Net focus on projects of the chapter community. We have over 100 chapters all over the world, all over the world, and this program is meant to support their work, support their dreams, and to make a difference on people's lives, in the different regions. During this session, we will go over the program guidelines and specifications. We'll talk about criteria, timeline, and budget. And I'll give you some tips for a successful application. Although I'm sure that you will know most of them, it's good to repeat them. So, program guidelines and specifications. Some people start an application without looking at them. And of course, they fail because they haven't gone through it. And sometimes for the committee, it's easy to see it in the application. So start by reading the program requirements. It will help you plan your project. It will help you be successful. We will go over the type of projects that we fund, how much do we fund, and who do we fund. I'll mention a few words about the timeline and the budget. And I'll also tell you a few words about the application assessment process and how you can get help. So let's start with what we fund. What type of projects do we fund? We have defined three main categories: access and development, open standards, security and resilience, and policy environment. Those, as you know, are the topics that Internet Society is much. It's putting its efforts, let's say. So those are the main topics. They are quite broad. They are large. They will give you many possibilities for your projects. And that the reason, because this program is open to all the regions across the world, and the problems are different, sometimes from one region to the other, and sometimes they can also be similar. So what do we look for? We look for projects that provide equal internet access to everyone. You know that this is our mission, internet accessible to everyone. There's still lots to be done, as Sahid was just saying in the beginning of this session. We also look for projects that help people understand why open standards are important, and more than anything, how to use them. There are many people out there that are using the internet and know nothing about it. So anything you can do to advance that knowledge about open standards is key for any place, any country. And then we look for projects also that help more people take part in important discussions towards a better internet governance. Internet governance has been a high topic for the last months or the last years. Last year, we received several projects on internet governance. I think more and more people are getting aware about it, and it's important that they understand it. So any projects on these topics are welcome. Then what do we prioritize in projects? So, as I mentioned, issues that affect the internet at the national, regional, or global level. Then ideas that can be replicable in other places across the world. We have projects that we know are working, for example, in India, on how to empower women. So why not, take that discussion to other regions, to other chapters, because surely there are women that could benefit from that project. So this is one thing that we are looking for to see in applications. And of course, that means the chapters need to get together to discuss about it, and they can do it online. Or if they need help, they can contact us and we can put them in touch. Then, of course, we look for collaboration. First of all, as I mentioned, between chapters. Then collaboration with the local communities, the local entities. This is really key for the success of a project. We have had experiences where a project started with some funding from Internet Society, and it became much bigger. And it only became much bigger because it got the support from the local entities. So always work closely to the local entities, spread the word about the project, and you might get extra funding. And then we look for long-term sustainability. And of course, that again, you need the local partners to help you continue the project. So those are the different types of things that we look for in a project. And then we'll go over to who can apply. So who can apply for Beyond the Net, this new program? As I said in the beginning of the presentation, we focus on projects from the chapter community. So any Internet Society chapter in good standing can apply. Also, if you are an Internet Society member, but you don't have, you're not part of a chapter yet. So we ask you to contact the local chapter, talk with them, and get support from them in the project. It is key to have that support because the local chapter often has contacts, locally, or maybe sometimes in the region or in the whole country, and they can help you with the project. Plus, they have the expertise. So if you are a member of ISOC, not yet being part of a chapter, the first step will be to contact the chapter or contact us, and we'll put you in touch. Then, of course, there are places where there isn't a chapter presence because this world is quite big. And we accept also projects from these places, from these countries. We just request people to contact us in advance to expose the project idea. Then we will help them submit the applications. And then chapters that have received funding before, it's important that the reporting is complete before they apply for a new project. We can only have one project at the time. And I'll talk more about it a little bit later. But so reporting on previous grants must be completed before you reapply. And of course, your application need to follow and respect the program guidelines. Okay, another few things about eligibility. So the chapter must have not received funding for the same project from other Internet Society programs. If you apply for Beyond the Net, your project will be supported by Beyond the Net, so there is no need to apply for other programs for funding. That's why we request you to use the grant funding exclusively to the project. Then project proposals must be the result of a teamwork. And yes, one-man show proposals are not considered, because in the past we have had applications that were submitted by one person, a project done by one person. And with this program, what we also trying to do is to help our chapters to build expertise. And it's only sharing the work with the other chapter members that you learn more, that we learn more. So it's important to have help. And you know that we all know that a project takes lots of energy, effort, time. Much better if we have several people than just one person doing everything. And then regarding the project management costs, they should not exceed 15% of the total project funding. The reason we have this limit is that we don't want all the funding, all the grant funding, to go into labor costs, to go into administration costs for the project, and so on. So, of course, we understand project management, admin costs, and so on. They are needed for a project, but let's not put all the funding in there. And let's make sure that we do not exceed 15% in chapter management costs. On the other hand, if you need, for example, professional services, then this is another category. You need expertise, you need engineers for your project. It's another category in the budget. And then, of course, the project may not be of commercial endeavor or subject to taxations. This is a requirement for the program. And that's about eligibility. I'll stop in a few minutes, and I would like to tell you about the different types of funding that we offer. And since you are quite new, so we offer, let's say, 3 different types of funding. First of all, we offer chapter funding for chapter small projects. Those are one-time-off projects that address a particular community need. It's an event, it's a training, but it takes 1 day, 1 week, and it's done. It doesn't require a lot of efforts. There are no closing dates. There are no selection review process that takes 1 month to 3 months. It's done on spot as a project comes in. It's evaluated by the team, and the team decided if this is a good project, if we should support it or not. And that's I was mentioning to Mark. That's the project that was funded this week to the Canadian chapter. This type of project. Then we have chapter medium scale funding, which is up to $10,000. Typically 1-year projects focusing on lasting solutions to local changes. And there are 2 cycles for this one, spring and fall. The same applies also for large-scale funding projects, which are up to $30,000, and those are typically 2-year projects. They tackle challenges affecting the chapter community in the local level, but also in the national level. And we also include on this type of projects multi-chapter projects, so projects where chapters are working together. So 2 cycles, as I said, for the medium and the large funding projects, spring and fall. The current cycle of applications will close on the 3rd of March. So you have more or less a month to apply. The review process will take about 3 months, more or less. We plan to announce the results in May, and then the projects can start in June, once the administration is completed. As I mentioned before, small chapter projects are evaluated as they come in. And how can you apply? So all our applications are received online through Zoom Grants platform. It's quite easy to use. I just have here a screenshot of what it looks like. And you have a summary where you have all the applicants' details, and then you have a set of questions that will ask you about the project duration, the project summary, the statement of needs, the project goals, objectives, timeline, budget, etc., and basically how you are going to do your project. And then there's a section dedicated to budget, where we will have to list the expenses of your project, and that takes quite some hard work on your side. And then documents is the section for where you will upload, for example, any letters of support that you would have for the project. It is good to know that Zoom Grants automatically saves your data as you're typing in. So if you have an electricity cut, chances are that all your data is saved. Also, you can edit the proposal after submission and until the deadline, of course. If you if you are not sure if you want to, submit the application yet because you don't have the full information, and you would like to submit the application once you have the full information, you can do so, but please don't wait to the last minute to submit the application, because sometimes things can go wrong. There can be an electricity cut, that can be a network problem, then you lose connection with the internet, and then you lose the chance to apply. And after the 3rd of March, there's nothing we can do on our side to accept an application. However, if you have submitted your application and it's not completed, and you tell us, I had a problem, could I still access my application and make changes, then we can help you. So bear that in mind when you are writing the applications, and submit your application early. That's a recommendation. Okay, I'll stop talking here for a while, and I'll ask you to ask any questions you may have.
Yes, Ilda, thanks a lot for your explanation. So I have a question regarding the relation between two chapters, right? I'm thinking about an application which could entail the relationship between two chapters, the Canadian chapter and the Uganda chapter. So how they relate one each other?
Okay, so all the chapters, they have, let's say, the same opportunities, the same rights within the Internet Society community. If you would like to work with the Uganda chapter, it would be a matter of contacting them and agreeing on, what to do in the project. And it would have to be defined during the application period, who would take care of each part of the project and how you would communicate results between one another. And it would be wonderful to have a project between the Uganda chapter, which is a great chapter, and the Canadian chapter.
Okay. So I should.
Do you have any contacts there, Mark?
I don't have any contact to Uganda chapter. I only have, I just received an email yesterday with the name of the person who is presiding the Canadian chapter. So do you think that the best to do it will be first contact the person in charge of the Canadian chapter and then contact the Uganda chapter?
Yes. I would say, yeah, contact the Canadian president, the
Okay.
Canadian board, and then the Uganda chapter, especially if
Perfect.
it's going to be a project that is going to be, across
Yeah.
continents.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
if you need help with that, just write an email to me.
Okay.
You can write at beyondthenet@isoc.com, and I can put you in contact with either of them.
That's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so let me just go over the remaining slides. And okay, so now that we know when to apply, what funding to require, what's next? Now you're ready to start your application. So identify the problem in your community. You probably have done that already because you have already an idea of a project. Then the next step would be to talk to your peers. Talk with the other chapter team members. Expose your idea, explain it, and see what is the feedback. And then involve beneficiaries of the project. So let's say if you are going to train school, you're going to train schools in Uganda. Well, more likely you need to contact the schools before you start the project, and you need to have their approval. So it's important that you do that. I have this great idea, and I want to help the students in Uganda, but I need to get approval from the schools. I need to get approval from the local government or so on. So this is very important. And often in projects like that, the selection committee will ask for a letter stating that the school wants to work on this project. And I'm talking about schools because we had several projects in schools, and the photos that you are seeing are actually from a project in Uganda, in training students in Uganda to access and work with the internet. Then, of course, plan carefully and submit your application early. Plan carefully. It's key, because if you just have a project idea, it will not work out. We all have great ideas, but to put an idea to practice, we need to plan it. We need to plan our project, and it takes time, and it takes more time than sometimes we think it would take. So allow yourself some time to planning the project, writing the application, and so on. So in the beginning, I mentioned identify the problem. So identify a need in your local community. And here we just have a few examples. Affordable internet access, still a hot topic today in many regions. Access to technology and training. Again, we might think sometimes that everyone has access to technology, but that's not the case. Better internet governance. Let's get more people involved in the internet governance. Let's get people to know how important it is, the internet, and how it can help change lives. And then up-to-date technical knowledge. It is also key. What are the standards? How are we using them, and how can we improve it? So plan carefully. I've already talked about it. I'm just realizing now. Plan carefully, as I was saying just before. Think about the why of your project, the what, the when, and the how. Why am I doing this project? Why is it needed? What are the results that I want to achieve with that? At the end of my project, what is the story that I want to tell? those are the questions that you have to carefully think about. And when you read an application, you can see if the applicant has gone through all the process. You can see if it's that the project is not just an idea, because sometimes we have projects, great ideas, but not the project plan, and it doesn't work because the selection committee is not going to fund a project idea. It's going to fund the project idea plus the plan, plus the project plan. Okay, the other important thing about the application is the budget. So think carefully about the project costs. Before you fill in the budget online, list all the needs of the project: labor costs, travel, project management, equipment, room for the project. All these needs to be listed so that at the end you come up with a project budget. So it's important to do that. On our application, we have 3 main sections on the budget. And you have the first section, which is to give information about other sources of support to your project. We do not ask you, we do not require matching funds for your project, but sometimes you might have them. So if you have other partners in the project that are providing, maybe they are providing the room for the place for the project, maybe they are providing electricity, or they are paying for the internet. There are many possibilities. Maybe they are providing computers. We had cases like that where people find computers. So these are your other sources of support. You are not accountable to us for them. We just need to know that the project is being funded by other sources. Also, because the committee will look at your application, it look at your budget, and it will say, wow, 10,000 to do all that, it's not enough. So what's going on? So it's better if you have support from other sources that you just list them. It's just for our information to know what's going on. And also because if you get support from other sources, there are more chances that your project will be successful and sustainable in the long run. And then the second option in the budget is very much important. It's the expected support from ISOC. So you have to break down all the expenses of your project according to the budget that you will expect to receive from ISOC. So we'll ask you to list all the things you need for the project to take place and to be successful. I'll show you a small example of a project. It was a project less than $10,000 project, where the person just listed everything that was needed. So it's easy for the selection committee because it goes here and it knows where the money is spent. Then the third part of the budget is the narrative description. So for example, if the budget here just says travel to IT, travel to IT, and there's no other information about it, the committee is not going to like it. However, and I don't have it over here, but this person explained why it needed funding to travel to IT. So on the narrative, you will describe and you will explain, why such and such fund is needed. The committee will always be looking into large amounts. Like here, they had solar power setup, $3,000. It's quite a lot of money. So what's that? So the description of that needs to be done in the narrative. So just to give you an overview of what needs to be done in the application. The other thing I mentioned there, but I just realized I don't have I don't have a slide over here, is the timeline of activities. It's, in other words, the work plan. We ask you to provide a work plan. We're not strict on the format and so on. We give you a template, but if you have your own template, you can use your own template. That the timeline of activities or work plan is just for the committee to find out, what's going to be done, when, and how. And it's a very good exercise for any applicant, any grantee, because that exercise will help you run your project. We all know that if we have a project plan that we need to follow, things go much nicely done than if we don't have that. Then if we only have the idea on how to do that. So the application helps you at the same time to think about how to do your project. And I will stop here for questions. Let me just, and then I'll talk about the application process afterwards. So I'll pause here and ask if you have any questions. Okay, no questions for now. So let's go on. What happens once you have the deadline is completed? Now we'll start the review of your application. So there are two main phases on the application review process. One is the pre-screening. This is where we will look if the applicant is eligible, because you always have people applying that are not members of ISOC. If the application is complete. Those are two main things. All documentation is provided. So if you have to provide a timeline for your project. You need to provide support letters for whenever there is other sources of funding. And then your budget is needs to be correct and coherent. Sometimes we get incomplete budgets, or people asking for 60,000 when the maximum amount is 30,000. So those are things that you may think are not relevant, but they are. Because if we see an application where people are asking for 60,000, it's out of our course. So we're not going to support it. We're not going to look into the application, because it means that this person didn't even read the guidelines, the program requirements. So this is the type of things that we look for on the pre-screening. Then the selection committee will look to the application. We have 6 members in the selection committee. They are representatives of all the regions. We have people from Asia, we have people from South America, from Africa, from Europe, and from North America. Some of the members of the committee serve different regions because they have sometimes they are from one place and they live in another place, or sometimes they are experts in a subject matter, and of course they know what's going on in the different regions. So they are region experts, and also they're also experts in the different topics like internet governance and anything that is related to the internet. Part of the committee, there are chapter people, there are grantees, previous grantees, there is ISOC staff as well, and also people that are just members of the general community of ISOC. So the selection committee will review all the applications that have been pre-selected. then the regional development staff will make recommendations as well about the applications, because the projects are going to take place in the different regions. It's important to have the input, what's going on in Asia. Is that project, needed in the region? What's going on in Canada? Is it a good project for North America, and so on? So the regional ISOC staff will help with these recommendations. And this is about the time where we will contact you for clarifications. And it's important to, as soon as you receive, an email from me asking for clarifications, to answer it quickly, because it's often that the selection committee needs the information. And after that, all the applicants will be informed of the project results independently if they were selected or not selected. And I am the one that gives you the good news and the bad news. But that's just to give you an idea that what happens to your application once you have submitted it. And just some helpful tips, as I mentioned, and I mentioned a few of them during this session. Very important: discuss your project idea with other chapter members. Does your chapter have the capacity to accomplish the project? It's more difficult than you think. Bringing a project to life takes time, takes lots of efforts, takes lots of perseverance. I think you say that in English, yeah. So you really need the help of everyone in the chapter. And you also need to motivate each other to keep going with the project, because there will be problems to solve. There will be risks or difficulties that you have not anticipated, and you need the help of everyone to bring the project to life. We have some projects that are now stuck because there were some risks that were not anticipated, and maybe because the right team was not in place. So it's a very important part of the project. So write an application in collaboration with the other chapter members. All chapters have experts in different matters. Someone might have expertise on technology, others in policy. You also need people to manage the project. It's very important to have management skills. Like, it's very important to have writing skills. It's not as easy as we think, because sometimes we receive applications or even reports where we think, what's going on? The project, the idea is there, but it's not well written. So we have surely people that have that knowledge. So it's important to get any help you can on the project. And once the application is completed, it's written, then ask the other team members to proofread the application. There might be something that you have missed that you can improve. It's always good to have another pair of eyes looking into the application. And then in the end, if your project receives funding, what is the story you would like to read on the news? I wrote that down here because I was talking to someone a couple of months ago, and I was saying, we receive these, great project ideas, but sometimes people don't know what, they don't know how to write the objectives, the goals of the project, and so on. They have the idea, they know they want to do something, but they don't know how to do it and what they want to achieve in the end. So he told me, just ask them to think about the story that they want to tell. And it makes the process easier. I've been using it myself, and it helps. So think about what you want to say, and then start writing your project objectives, project goals, and it's much easier. And if your proposal is approved, be ready and able to commit to the project. It's, as I said, it's hard work, it takes time, and it takes commitment. And we can see the difference in projects that are, you know, are achieved successfully in other projects that sometimes are not achieved successfully. It happens. Okay, and just a couple of more tips, and I will stop and let you ask any questions. So, when you're writing the application, write so the reader or any reader can understand your project. Remember that your application is going. You will have experts reading your application, but if you have an application on internet policy, not every member of the committee understands policy, unless you write it on a way that is understandable by all. So make it simple. Be clear. Be focused on the questions, and don't use jargon. So the committee, for the people that are reading the application, need to understand what you are talking about. Write your project summary last. It's sometimes much easier to do that because then you have an idea of everything that you are going to do, and then you just summarize it in a few lines. And then you have, and you know that the summaries is really important part of the of your application. Sometimes the committee reads the summary. If it doesn't like it, it doesn't read the rest. So it's important that on the summary you are already capturing the members of the selection committee. And then provide only the required documentation. Don't provide documents that the committee is not looking for, because the committee will have 100 applications to review and is not going to have time to review everything, every single document that you attach. So attach documents that are required, that are needed. Don't worry about the rest. If we need something else, we'll ask you. And if the project is supported by other sources of support, partners, don't just say so, but provide a letter of support. We had cases last time where people just said, oh, we have support from this and that, but there's no proof that there is support. So always get a letter of support, an email saying that you will get that support. It's good for the selection committee to know that this is serious. These people are really wanting to participate in the project, and it's also good for you, for the applicant, because there is a commitment when there is a written document that says, yes, I will help you with 10,000 in the project or something else. But, okay, now I promise I stop, and please ask any questions you have. Yeah, and I'll just stop here.
Can I ask you to stop sharing screen, because then the pictures will go on to like my thing. So
okay,
that's good. So just on this business of presentation and so on, you know, what really works for people is deadlines, and also when they have when they have to like present to the public. So I wonder if we could do something like a project showcase where, you know, just around the right time before everybody's making the final decision, everybody presents. We have something like this, everybody presents their projects, and we can all sort of see what they are and offer support or mock them accordingly, you know. And also for finished projects, maybe, because I don't think we within the Internet Society really recognize what other people are doing as much as we could. So it would be good to provide more discourse.
Yes, it's a very good idea. We have talked about it a few times internally, to bring actually someone that has had a successful project to talk in a session, and I forgot to mention it, but if you need help writing the application, there are a few people that have been successful grantees and that are welcoming to help. We have people that have offered help in Europe, in Latin America, and in Asia, and in Africa as well. So we have really grantees that are wanting to help. We just have to make maybe some formal some formal way of doing that. But I take your idea, Jolly.
And then the other thing is just sort of logistic support, like, maybe, sort of a little bit of accountancy help, or how to like use a Google Doc to, to track what you're doing, or those kind of things, some project, like best practice or something like that. So the people how to track their projects.
Yeah, so that's once the grant or the proposal is approved. Yeah, this is also a very good idea, how to track the project development. This is something that we can do. We don't have it. We have an orientation session in the beginning of when the project is approved, an orientation session where all the grantees get together, they talk about their projects and what they expect to achieve, and they exchange ideas. But we could include something like that.
So that could almost be a project in itself, to make a project support.
Exactly. It will be my project. Anyone else for questions? Fernando.
I'll ask a question here. So out of the other people here, we've already heard from Mark, but there's 3 more of you. Do you have projects that you're thinking about applying for? You have some butterfly in your mind, or you don't want to talk about it?
So, as I discussed with Ilda in the beginning, that I have been associated with a few projects already supported by ISOC to the different development organization in India. So it was basically for the women to connect and make them entrepreneur in the rural areas of Indian states. So beyond that, I have been, because as a journalist and a development analyst, I have analyzed that there are several other sectors we could try, especially in India, if you talk, or Africa. These 2 countries are the most vastly dependent on the agricultural business. And those farmers, they are totally disconnected. Due to that, they don't have the information, accessibility, or anything to develop or get the new technology about their own agricultural or farming system, or different technology about the weather information, or anything that they can prevent their crops for destroying before it is going to happen. So these are the things that we have to tap on, that those sectors, so they can come in the mainstream line, and they can just get supported by just getting informed, means being informed. Once they are informed, they can just do their business well. They can be socially empowered, economically they will be better and better day by day, and they will be more informed, and they can make the chain to the others, to the disconnected people. So that's what I was thinking. And there is another problem in that if we go in that area, there is a problem of electricity. So but this is not the dead end, because the solar power is already evolving and emerging, that a new technology and the new support for the thing, so that we can just converge, see that how we can just cope those challenges and just work upon that.
It's interesting, I mean, I work on a thing every year that we have a space apps challenge that is done by NASA, where they create a bunch of challenges, and then people from schools and other project people come in, and like they have like a hackathon where they try and find solutions of those things, and then they have a project. So it seems to me that that's like something that you could look at, is like making some kind of hackathon event to like really look at, and specify in advance certain challenges of how can we resolve that challenge, on this rural thing, and try and recruit your youth, who are obviously smarter technologically than the older people are, and try and come up with something, would be a good exercise.
Yeah, definitely, Jolly. And I was also thinking while Dr. Said was talking about the projects that we have had in rural areas, and we have had several of them in Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm wondering if people from these projects could help you with the project that you want to do.
Yes, there should be more sharing.
Yes, definitely. Maybe we should organize a session where we just talk about projects. And
yeah, I would think that would be great. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And good ones and ones that failed too. I'd even like to see one that was just on ones that failed, so that people could see where not to go wrong.
So, Elda, I just have one. I don't know whether it fits in this discussion or no. So, do you also target that community which has been internationally displaced, or the like refugee community? They are most means like vulnerable. You can say that they are mostly dependent on some agencies to get supported, or even for the information or anything. So I was just wondering, are we ever being able to think about them, that if we empower them with those small skills or through information, so that wherever they are, so they could be they will be able to help themselves in getting that some right opportunity or right livelihood support at the with the card what they are having, the refugee card in any places. So I was just wondering, because it's very emerging crisis all over in the Middle East, or in the Myanmar, or in the Thailand, you can see. So there are several, because I have worked with some Rohingya community which they have migrated to India. So I have worked with them. So I saw this kind of need, because women are totally disconnected. They don't know anything. There are language barriers. There are several things, as they are not connected to, even for those other families in their own country. They are left behind. So I think that's what the other thing that I was just wondering, that if it is possible that we can also work upon that.
What's interesting is that Evan Libovich, who was the former chair of ISOC Canada, gave up his post to go and work in Geneva for the United Nations Commission on Refugees, and is involved in just this. And we had a lot of debate where over something like zero rating, because he said for a refugee, whether they don't have the clothes on their back, but they hang on to their phone, the zero rating can be a lifeline. And so he was on the fence about the the issue of this. He said principles of net neutrality go out the door when you're so that's we do have an avenue, and we could be looking to link up with the United Nations on this issue, and it's something that's worth exploring.
Yes, I agree with Jolly has just said. We haven't received any applications with refugees, but there are no limits as long as we are working for the benefit of people, working for advancing the internet. There are no limits. Of course, we can foresee an application with refugees.
What I'll say is that at the moment the whole system of projects is like, okay, think up your own project, but it's something that you could think about in staff and internally, is about maybe setting some challenges and saying, okay, we have these challenges, so come up with your project for specifically these challenges. Oh, silence.
Sorry, I didn't. I was writing. I only got setting challenges.
Yeah,
So
that's basically it. I'm saying that, you know, ISOC could think about, you know, you could talk at, you know, at a high level within ISOC about establishing challenges for, you know, for people to
yes.
come up with projects. Well,
Yeah, that's something that we have been talking about too. It's true that up until now we have pretty much left it open for chapters to decide what is more relevant on their regions, and as long as a project idea is aligned with the mission of ISOC, the project will be considered. But we have been talking recently about you know, establishing or setting the challenges, and so that's something is going to happen. It's not yet decided, but it's something that we are also thinking about.
good.
And in that sense, so as you know, we have launched a campaign on supporting women. So we would like to start doing things a little bit more focused, so that might help some of the chapters. But we have at the same time to leave the door open, because
Yes.
challenges are different from country to
Yes.
country.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jolly.
Hi, everyone. This is Joy speaking. I just wanted to add here that this Beyond the Net program is also a way for us to actually get some innovative ideas. And so, you know, by setting some challenges, as Jolly is suggesting, which is a good idea, but it actually would limit the innovation and the new ideas coming through. So identifying projects that maybe we as ISOC are not focusing on just yet, but that are important for the community development locally. So this is really, Beyond the Net was also created for that, is to really look at innovative ways of supporting the community through local efforts. So keeping that in mind is also very important in the application and in the thought process of coming up with projects. I hope that helps.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much, Joyce. I think, yeah, we look for innovation, innovative ideas, and we get sometimes, you know, really nice ideas, and things that make a difference in the long run. Sometimes you read projects, you are thinking, what are they trying to do? And then you have to read it a second time and say, yeah, there's something behind here that we can explore, and that is gonna, you know, is gonna help people. I don't know, Prince. Je sais pas si vous voulez présenter votre idée de projet en français ou en anglais. You are muted. So let me just open. You have to open the microphone on the left, the bottom left corner. Can I do that for you? Unmute, yeah. Okay, and Joyce is telling me that we are over time. That's correct. We are over time. Let's just see if Prince would like to say something.
Yes.
We cannot hear you. I don't know if you...
I think we can hear him, but he's not talking.
Okay, maybe another opportunity. We have, I believe, spoken before with Prince. So
Yeah, Prince, we can hear you. Speak. Maybe he can't. Maybe he can't hear us.
maybe there is a delay in the connection. Okay, so we'll give the opportunity to anyone else to ask any questions before we close the session.
I am just posting the link for John as to where the recording is going to be right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Jolly, for that.
Okay.
Okay, great. I'll copy it and I will share tomorrow because it's the end of the day over here.
Okay.
So thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to join this session. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. It's not only me, there are people behind me, so contact us. And if you need help with your applications, if you have great ideas, please share it with us and apply, because this is an opportunity for you, and this is a good chance to make your idea come true. So thank you, and have a good day, a good night, a good evening. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.